Our keynote speaker tonight is Ross Lipson, CEO of Dutchie, and Dutchie is an online ordering service that allows marijuana consumers to search dispensaries in their area, place an order, and have it delivered or ready for pickup in minutes. Dutchie works with hundreds of retailers, facilitating thousands of orders to local dispensaries, and has attracted sizable investments from investors including Snoop Dogg and basketball phenom Kevin Durant. And this isn't Ross's first rodeo in the delivery biz, so let's hear why weed, why now?
So first of all, I do not wear makeup, but if I did, that was awesome. So congratulations. If I ever do decide to, I'll check it out. Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me. Edco, this is my first time here. This is awesome. I mean, I know I didn't move to Bend for business or for tech, and I'm sure a lot of us have a similar story. And to see this group come together like this, yeah, kudos to you guys. And Brian, I don't know where you are, but Brian has been a huge catalyst to get me up here. I guess pun intended. I guess that's a little bit of my joke. I'll come up with a few more jokes. I know that's kind of the thing here. So I'm Ross Lipson. I'm the founder and CEO of Dutchie. It's an online ordering service for the cannabis space. So to put it in a little bit more of an easier way, we're a website that you can come to, type in your address, we show you all the retailers in your area, and you can order online for delivery or pickup. So I'll tell you a little bit about my story. My story starts a while ago, and I'm young, I'm 31, but it actually started about 15 years ago. So 2005, I'm from Michigan, Southeast Michigan, and I went to Michigan State University. And when I got to school, as a lot of us remember, same as in like an apartment building, we got hit with a bunch of food delivery menus under the door. And didn't think anything of it. The next day, me and my friends got together, and we had a stack of takeout menus. And we went to go order food, which seemed to be should be a simple process. And it ended up not being a simple process. We sorted through all these takeout menus. Then we finally picked up a phone, passed it around. Couldn't split the bill, couldn't track the order. And this was a time, I remember months before this, Facebook had launched at our school. So this was a time, 2005, if we all remember, consumer tech platforms didn't really exist at scale. I think we were just all learning what the internet kind of held for all of the opportunity it held. So the next day, and this was the week before school started, I took all the menus, we scanned them in, and if anybody's in tech, this is kind of funny, we scanned them in as PDFs, and at the time it was revolutionary. It was like, wow, that was amazing. And we launched an online menu guide, and we went out and just spread the word. We were knocking down doors. This is the fun part, I think. I think actually in the 15 years, and there's been a lot of, we'll go through the journey, there's been a lot of fun moments. This was probably the most fun was, everything from waking up at 2 in the morning and breaking into the classrooms to write our website name on the chalkboards, or sneaking into the library and slipping flyers under every single mouse on every single mouse pad. And we did this over the next couple weeks and attracted a bunch of students. People stopped using the stack of paper menus where they would tack them onto the board, and they started coming to the website and calling the restaurants for orders. So we knew at this time we had saw some traction. I decided to drop school. I actually never really attended. I decided, okay, got a business here, maybe a business, got an idea. And when dropping school, we knew, me and my buddy who I did this with, we needed to generate revenue. We needed to create a business out of this. We needed to make this sustainable. So we got together with some developers, kids on our floor at our dorm, and basically we decided, how can we get this order, how can we get a customer to come to this website and not only be able to look at the menu and call, but place the order and send it to the restaurant. So about a month later, we had developed online food ordering, and we launched one of the first online food ordering services in the States. So it was at a time where Grubhub, if any of you guys are familiar, a few of the food delivery services have now launched in Bend. Actually, quite relevant, like this was months ago. We now see Uber Eats, DoorDash, Postmates. This was at a time where it was just Grubhub had launched a couple months before us. Grubhub, for you guys that don't know, it's the world's largest online food ordering company. It's a publicly traded company worth over $10 billion now. And they were launched out of Chicago, focused just in Chicago at the time. There's also a Seamless Web, which was a company focused on corporate ordering. And fortunately for us, a bit lucky, we were in university, so we focused on university markets. The university markets proved to be really successful. A couple reasons, and they're obvious reasons now, but lucky at the time. Students don't cook. They spend their money on three things, which is food, beer, and weed. Got two of those down now. And they're all quick to adopt these new technology platforms, especially with Facebook launching months before and everybody on their computer every day. So we quickly gained traction in our university. We decided to scale out. We scaled to over 300 universities, 25,000 restaurants, and we became one of the fastest growing online food ordering services early on in the space. Grubhub in this time had blown up through cities and had scaled also coast to coast. And over the next couple of years, online food ordering really started to gain kind of national traction, you could say. And people really kind of opened up their eyes to it. Both retailers on the restaurant side and consumers ordering. About 4 years into, three and a half years into the business, we were acquired. And I signed a non-compete, which is very typical of an acquisition, stating I wouldn't work in online food ordering in the States for 3 years. It's again, super typical, no problem. It was a great acquisition. We signed it. But at the time, still am, I was very young then. We really had learned this business model, and we loved it. We had a knack for it. We learned how to scale, how to operate it, how to sell it, market it. And we knew that online food ordering was still in its infancy. So what me and my partner at the time, literally a day after we sold, we looked at each other and we said, let's move to Canada. Let's avoid the non-compete, because it was only in the States. Nobody was doing it in Canada. So there was an interesting thing we had found, and even still today, but more so back then, was Canada it's a market, it's a great market, it's a great country, and even better now with everything happening, but, and my wife's Canadian, so I'm getting a couple points there. No. So we avoided the non-compete. It was an untapped market, and I was from Michigan. Toronto was just a 4-hour drive, really close. So we put some money behind it, some of the proceeds from our acquisition, personally. We partnered with a few Canadians, and we moved to Toronto, and we started Grub Canada, which was Canada's first online food ordering service. So the nice thing was our second time around. We really had learned the business, and we had some funding. So we quickly scaled. We scaled to over 1,000 restaurants in the first year. We scaled coast to coast, every province. We built a team fast, quick, aggressive. We knew eventually people would come into the space. We already had the playbook. It's kind of like if you're a race car driver and you've taken the test laps or you've already run the track, just go for it. And that's what we did, and we had 100% market share for the first 3 years. It was amazing. It became pretty much a household name in Canada. I then moved the business, so the headquarters was in Toronto. We then moved, we needed to scale coast to coast. I moved to Vancouver, BC, and opened up our BC office. And then a company so we started the business in 2008. In 2011, a company called Just Eat. Most of you probably don't know about them. They're a European-based company. They're, I think, 15 or 16 countries, but not in America. They were at the time the world's largest online food ordering company. So they were a publicly traded company, and they were about, I think, $7.5 to $8 billion market cap, and they moved into Canada. So your typical David and Goliath situation happened. They came in with a huge team. They started with, I think, close to 100. They had huge marketing budgets. You saw billboards and TV commercials and ads everywhere. And we fought them. We went heads up with them. And we had built, one of the things I've learned is defensibility is like almost the most, it's something that's very much overlooked. Entrepreneurs get traction. We get cocky. We think we got it. And somebody comes in with more money, quicker, a bigger team, better team. And a product is only as good as what it is today. Somebody could copy you and launch another feature and be better than you. So we did a really good job of the David and Goliath. What I call it is kind of building those moats around our customers with loyalty. Our restaurants. I always mix dispensaries and restaurants and always will. that'll never leave me. But we built our moats and around our customers with loyalty, around our restaurants with our relationships, and they couldn't, Just Eat came in and they couldn't knock us off of kind of our pedestal. They had a really tough time penetrating the market. They spent millions and millions of dollars, a lot of time, a lot of resources, and they came to us with an acquisition. That was a phenomenal acquisition, and they actually offered us, me and my partner, to run the Just Eat Canadian operation. So at the time, I was 25 years old. This is kind of where I'll bring Bend into the story here. So picture a 25-year-old kid. I was financially fulfilled at the time. I was personally fulfilled. The business was selling, and Whistler was like an hour and a half away. So I spent every day at Whistler and snowboarding, and every day hanging out, relaxing, and I got really bit by that bug. So I quickly passed on we took the acquisition, quickly passed on the employment offer, and said, I definitely don't want to work. I definitely want to go snowboard and enjoy life. So my partner took the other offer and took the employment opportunity. And it's really funny, kind of a nice lesson I've learned in life, especially with me, people that know me know that especially in business, I like to go and I like to be in the driver's seat and always working. Fortunately, I made the best move in my life, which was not to work. And it's funny, over the next couple years, so just to paint the picture, the business that we started in Canada that's now merged into Just Eat, he has 1,600 employees. He revenued $550 million last year. His business in just Canada is worth a couple $1 billion. And he's at the tallest building in the biggest office, and he's miserable. And while he was running that business, I was hitting the road or snowboarding at Bachelor and enjoying life and always giving him a hard time. So that was a nice lesson in life. But basically, we sold the company, and I did hit the road and actually went on a nice road trip and was going mountain to mountain, really enjoying the ski season. It's funny that this talk now is about snowboarding and skiing. But anyway, I ended up meeting somebody at Mount Hood. They had known of my story and said, come to Bend. I had never heard of it. I pulled up to Bend in April, Bluebird, Pow Day, and that's why I'm here today. Probably the same story as a lot of us, but at least I hope. So I planted my roots in Bend, took a couple years off, got married, bought the house, got the dog, all the important things, and was itching to get back into the driver's seat. I started to get to the point where I was, one would say, overstaying my welcome. And I think if you don't use it, you might lose it type thing. So, all right, I gotta get back in there and make something of this. So I've always been passionate about cannabis, not only consuming and enjoying the product, but really and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know the opportunity, especially us being in Oregon, where we got kind of a first glance at this new emerging market and saw the opportunity that it presented. So in late 2015, when cannabis went legal for recreational use, as we all remember, dispensaries that are opening up, we're seeing green crosses on every corner, especially in any city in Oregon. When it first launched, there was lines out the door, if we could all remember, and I was standing in line, and my light bulb was blaring, going crazy, and saying you apply the online ordering concept to the cannabis space. So that is how Dutchie was born, the idea. We quickly learned, I quickly learned that the space wasn't actually, when we started to look into the idea and the concept, and it's very similar to online food ordering. What's under the hood, the organization, the infrastructure, the processes, the product, how you market it, how you sell it. But there's a lot of also big differences. One of the biggest ones is when you sign a restaurant for online food ordering, the menu never changes. You could build a menu and it's the same menu forever. In cannabis, these menus are changing every day. They have 500 to 1,000 SKUs on each item, and they sell out of 25, 30 products a day, and they bring in 25, 30 new products a day. So there's no way for them, when we first tried to launch, it was having a dispensary build a profile and manage a menu. And not going to happen. It was really brutal. In fact, almost every order that came in, the dispensary would call and say, we don't even have that. We haven't had that in a week. And we learned that quickly. What we would need to do is integrate with the POS companies so we can automate this menu management situation, this issue. And then we learned that the POS companies weren't really ready, and a lot of the systems and the people and the infrastructure wasn't really ready for this concept. So we slowed it down, and we took over a year and a half to really develop and design this product and our processes and our business. We launched with one dispensary in Bend in, I would call it, mid to late 2017. So we really took our time. I think timing is really important. It's one thing I've learned is that timing is super important. A lot of people think it's lucky, but I think you can be, if you're in tune to what's happening, instead of trying to force something, wait for the time. There were a couple companies that launched with our concept before us, and they're gone now. And they've actually paved the way for us to do what we're doing. So they were a little early. So it was good. We slowed down, and we kind of smoothed out our kinks, and we launched an MVP, a minimum viable product. Basically a product that works, we can get it out there, and we could kind of learn and iterate from there. And once we had that one dispensary up and running, we were working really closely with that dispensary, and we had small traction. Even I was ordering and said, wow, this works. We decided, okay, let's get to what I call it tiny proof of concept. So one would say traction. I decided, let's get to 50 dispensaries, 50 orders a day on the platform. Let's get to new cities across Oregon so we could see how different retailers operate. We could learn, you can't base your business off of one, right? So let's see a few of these guys out there, and we could learn what we need to do. So we scaled to across Oregon, 50 dispensaries, 50 orders a day, did it in about 3-4 months, and then we realized we needed to. So it was working. We had traction, you would say. So we decided we needed to legitimize this product and bring some credibility to us in the space, in the eyes of the space. And we went out for a seed round. And you kind of mentioned this. So we went out, and I think this was a really important. It's always an important step in any business when raising money, and is looking for the right partner. I think a lot of times, and I have been a victim of I'm always a victim of getting overexcited about everything. I think it's part of everything. If you're an entrepreneur, you should be excited about things. You should have energy, and I think it's a double-edged sword. I always say, don't let excitement outsmart you, and that was like my saying for myself. Trying to learn it still, but so we went out and we talked to a lot of funds and some big funds, but we realized they didn't know anything about cannabis, and cannabis is its own little beast. The brand new industry operates very differently. We ended up talking to a bunch of VCs, and we ended up landing on, it is Snoop Dogg's VC. However, no, Snoop Dogg's not really involved. He's not ever in Bend or ever talking to us on the phone or ever advising us, thank God, on how to run our business. Yeah. If we ever need to learn how to smoke more weed, we can call him. Yeah, just joking. So it was good for one reason, the press. You put Snoop Dogg in a headline, and usually people want to write it up. But what we did was Snoop Dogg's firm is called Casa Verde Capital. They led the round. They're a very prominent fund in the cannabis space, strong portfolio, great people at the helm, and just aligned with us. It was kind of like have a first date, see how you feel, take a second date. If it's working out well, then you might have something. But kept our eyes and ears open. We then filled the round with a couple other firms. Kevin Durant's firm was another one of them. There was a marketing play there. Again, same thing. No, Kevin Durant's not really much of a play there. But then we actually went out, and if you guys are familiar with DoorDash, DoorDash is the fastest online food ordering company in the world. They started in 2013, and they just closed a $400 million round at a $7.1 billion valuation. They're huge. They've I think it's well over $1 billion in funding now. The founders actually invested personally in Dutchie, which was extremely strategic. They are very hands-on advisors and understand from the entrepreneur side. So one thing I've learned is also the VC and the investor is a VC, or it's an investor. So and everybody's out for their own good. At the end of the day, there are nice people out there. I'm sure a bunch of nice people in this room, but outside of Bend, especially in Silicon Valley, everybody's out for their own good, and that's okay. But it's just important for us to know that. Whereas when you look for more the entrepreneur side, like these guys at DoorDash, they've gone through it before. They could advise on specifics like product questions, how you marketed, how you scaled, how you sold. Do you have anybody we can hire? But also from the entrepreneur side. So it's a really nice perspective. So they participated in the round, and then a company called Canopy Growth, which is the world's largest, one of, I think, the world's largest online or cannabis company, publicly traded. It's a 10 billion plus company. They filled the round. And we closed our seed round. It was a $3 million seed round in September. And then from there, now raising money is kind of an interesting thing. It was said best earlier and today, it's not always a great thing. I mean, people like celebrate around, like I remember we closed our seed and everybody's like, congratulations. And it's like, now I gotta like really work really hard, really fast. And if I don't succeed, I'm gonna fail. And I mean, it's like I always thought of like my analogy or my picture in my head is like if you're on a rope and you're climbing your rope, it's your company, and you can climb it at whatever speed you want. The second you raise money, you light the fire on the bottom. If you don't get to the top really quickly and get to another round, the most common way of failing is not because the entrepreneur's, you know, is a poor entrepreneur or the business didn't work. It's because you ran out of money and nobody wants to raise another round. So a lot of companies need to. We need to. It's a very capital-intensive business, and we have a huge opportunity that's going to cost a lot of money, and we want to go really fast, so we need a lot of capital. But yeah, so we closed the round in September, and from there it's time to scale. It's go time. Two reasons. One, we just raised money, and the first rule of raising money is you got to spend it. If you raise money and you don't do anything with it, you are not going to have happy investors, and I don't think your business is going to do that well. So got to really spend the money. So we went out and we started spending. We grew from 1 state, now we're in 10, and this is all in Q4 of last year. So 1 state to 10, we went from 50 dispensaries, we're in 250 now. We went from 5 employees to we have 20 now here in Bend. And we really started to, you know, pick it up and build the company. Right now where we're at is really focusing on, we're actually in the midst of our Series A round right now. Where we're at right now is we actually have, so we have some money in the bank with a long runway. And the typical play would be prove out your metrics in your seed. Don't raise unless you have to. And that is very true for others. For us, it's a little different. We are in a position where we see this opportunity. Cannabis is, as we all know, a massive opportunity. We feel really fortunate to be in Oregon. We were one of the first states. We're the first state to legalize delivery. So we see the cannabis space with many years of experience, whereas these other states coming online are very new to it. So we're at a point right now where we are raising our Series A and looking to really accelerate our growth. So we have really, really aggressive plans. We want to be in all 33 plus states, legal states, by the end of 2019. Our goal is to triple the team in size, so is hiring 40 people this year, and which is a tough thing, especially in Bend. So thank you, Edco, because one of the biggest questions that we get when raising, so we're talking to a lot of the tier 1 brand name funds, and the number one question is, are you going to do this in Bend? And they all say, because most people don't see Bend as a city that could, or a town that could host a couple hundred people at a company and grow to the scale that, you know, we're pitching. And it is people like this group and you guys that really do help this. So thank you. And it's great to all stay together on this, because I know with all the companies that I've heard coming out of Bend, like that is the more companies obviously that succeed and put Bend on the map. I know it's funny, we all talk about not moving to Bend, but there's a good reason to move to Bend too. So we all want to stay here. So where we're at, yeah, just to go back and kind of wrap up, is it's a fun stage right now that we're at where we have our unit economics kind of dialed, as you would say. We have our process, our product, and our structure in order. And now it's really time to blitz scale. And what that means is really is speed over everything. We're playing a land grab market share game. We want to be everywhere. We see the states as proving grounds. We want to scale coast to coast in the states, be in all states by the end of 2019. Very, very aggressive. We actually take a pre-revenue approach. So very different from most companies that are very driven by their revenue. We have $0 in revenue. Dispensaries ask, can we pay you? We say, absolutely not. We don't sign any contracts. We care about one thing, and it's not making money right now. It's actually just market share. We just want as much, we want to scale quickly, and we want to have market share being confident in the product and the model, knowing that we could monetize later. So that's where we're at today. Hopefully we'll have some good news in the next month of closing a pretty big Series A and continuing to grow in Bend, especially with everybody's support. So yeah, thank you guys for having me, and I guess we'll open it up to Q&A here, and yeah.
Yeah, in the back here. Do you have any implications or reporting requirements to the OLCC with the delivery?
Yeah, just so everybody knows, the OLCC, Oregon Liquor Control Commission, is they're the governing body for the cannabis space. And so fortunately for us, we don't. However, the space, what happens is so there's two parts to our business. One is pickup and the other is delivery. We get coined often as a delivery service, whereas the majority of our business is actually pickup. And to kind of speak a little bit more on that, and I will answer the question directly, is back in the food days, we saw no pickup. There was the value prop to the consumer of saying, here's a menu, you can order ahead, but you have to go to the restaurant and pick it up. It's not really there. It was all about delivery and convenience. In this space, it's actually different. We have a totally different value proposition to the consumer, which allows us to do a lot of pickup business, which is these menus are always changing. And if anybody's been to a dispensary, there's a couple hundred items. None of us, maybe some of us, I don't even know a lot about these products. And you're kind of like in the hot seat getting advice from somebody you don't really know or maybe trust, and are forced to make a quick buying decision. So our value prop, which goes to pickup, and then I'll get to the delivery, is in OLCC, is that it's an education tool. It's giving you live inventory and all the information from THC and CBD percentage to the effects, a photo, description. So we do a lot of pickup, but on the delivery side, which is more on the OLCC side, and with reporting, is the dispensary fortunately has to report to OLCC. What they have to do is they create a manifest. So the answer in short is no, we do not have to. However, if we are able to help the process of the dispensary reporting to the OLCC, which is something that we do work very closely on, then we can improve our business by improving their process. It gives the retailer more of a value in joining our platform. So for example, one of the ways to do that, so if you're a dispensary and I send you an order for delivery, you have to go to what's called Metric, which is the seed-to-sale tracking system that the government, OLCC, uses to enforce tracking. They have to go into Metric and build out a manifest. If we can automate that manifest, then more dispensaries will use our platform because we make it a lot easier. And that's stuff that we're working on. But no, we fortunately do not have to report right now. So.
Thank you. Yes.
You talked about right now the goal is to basically be working for as many people as possible and not worry about profit initially, whether it's going to company or other companies that you've gotten on. How do you kind of making that transition from gaining customers and trust and knowledge to building a business?
Yeah, that's great. So the focus is on market share. How do you know when to monetize it? Is that a fair way to?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a good word, monetization. No. So it's a good question. So it comes down to a few different things. One of the biggest things with us raising this next round, is finding I call him more of a capital partner, not just an investor, somebody that's aligned with our thesis, which is do not gouge revenue here. And it's really the idea of sacrifice all in the name of speed. It's kind of a really good, I'll plug a book right now, Blitzscaling by Reid Hoffman. If you guys haven't read that, or some of you probably have, it's like a phenomenal book. And Reid Hoffman is one of the more credible investors in the Valley, and the CEO and founder of, former CEO, but founder of LinkedIn, and an early on PayPal guy. And it's the idea of scrap all, even sacrifice efficiency for speed, and use speed as your best asset. And revenue gets in the way of that. And if we were to force contracts and force revenue, we would grow slower. So the key for us right now is there's two parts. Is one, finding an investor that is aligned with that and truly aligned with that, and it's hard. We have to vet that person. They're just going to say, yeah, we like the model, and then maybe they're the ones that are breathing down the back of your neck. there's also important to negotiate favorable terms that we can control all these decisions. So the truth, I think, is you want to go, for us, as far as we can. Revenue in this business, our business will always be funded. It will be fueled by our funding for a long time, not by our revenue. Most of these fast-growing tech companies, as we've all seen, even in the public sector, they don't show as much profit as one would think, if any. Most of them lose, but it's the revenues that really gain their value. So even in an acquisition, usually you're getting a multiple in tech on your revenue, not always your profit. So depends, of course, but in my previous experiences, that's what I had found. So we're going to go as long as we can. However, it is important in a marketplace and in all businesses to focus on your unit economics, right, and to understand your model. And it's great to say you can go from, I mean, one person could have 1,000 dispensaries on their platform, but if you found out they paid each dispensary $10,000, you go, well, doesn't really work then. So we do have to show that we can get to profitability, and in order to find our unit economics in that model, we have to start charging revenue. So the answer, I think, is we do want to go as long as we can to gain that dominant leadership role and have the market share. We want to get to a point where we have the loyalty of the consumer and the dispensary before we charge, so we don't deal with churn, which is people leaving us, right? That's terrible in a business, especially our software as a service. Your churn rate of people leaving is a total negative for us, for investors, and for the whole future. So we want to make sure that it's not negatively impacting us. And when we know and have confidence that because of our traction, our loyalty to the consumer, our volume in orders. For example, if you're a dispensary and you're only getting 5 orders a day, you might not be willing to pay. But if I wait a year and now you're getting 40 orders a day, and I say, hey, would you give me, whatever it is, 2% of the orders, you're more likely to say yes. So we're going to wait until that point. But it's a question that I will fight with forever until we do it. And it is one of these things that nobody has the right answer. You can line up 10 advisors, the best advisors in the world, and they'll all tell you something different. So it's mainly having that gut feeling. And I think one of the easiest ways to go about it, which is how we will, test it. I think that, even the biggest companies, Facebook, all these companies, they're not surgical. They're not at all. Maybe they are with their deployments. So you don't go on Facebook and see a white page or, spinners all over. It looks good. But if, even, Facebook will come out and say, or all of them will come out and say, you throw something out there and you iterate. So start charging one client, right? Maybe start charging him 2%, and he'll say, yeah. Then go to the next one and say it's 3%. And keep going until you maybe hit that roadblock and figure it out on its way. I think that it's a humbling feeling, and I think it's a little bit scary if you think I have to nail it the first time. Nobody does. So, and none of us know what we're doing. We just got to go for it, figure it out. Just be kind of smart. So.
That's great. Helpful. So one more question and we'll close. Yes, Janet. Sorry. Are there too many dispensaries now? Are they going to survive?
Yeah, so that's an awesome question. And it's a question we get all the time at a higher level with investors of what's the space going to look like? I do think it depends on the state. So in Oregon, we have too many dispensaries. Yes, we have over 500-600 dispensaries here. I think we have more dispensaries than Starbucks and McDonald's combined. Typical, yay, Oregon. Typical. It's in other states in Nevada, for example, it's limited. They limit the license, and you're seeing more of that. The answer is there is too many dispensaries in certain states. However, there is a huge demand for this product, and there are not many dispensaries struggling to sell it. I think that there are dispensaries struggling to become profitable in it, and there are a lot of issues around that. I do think and know that we all are starting to see a huge consolidation that will happen. There was a huge green rush, which is a perfect way of saying it, a huge amount of excitement. If I could sell weed legally, I'm going to become a multimillionaire. And then reality sets in. And you realize that it's not that easy, and it's running a business, and there's 1,000,001 pain points from taxes and compliance. And So there will be a huge consolidation. There are a lot of larger retail groups that have accessed public money or just have some very, very savvy operators at the helm that are coming in and consolidating. And I do think that that will happen in the future. However, our thesis is the brick and mortar will always exist, and there will be a large network of retailers, and we want to power that. So we hope that there are a lot of dispensaries, in a sense, right? Yeah, and the number is only growing. I mean, there's a lot of states obviously legalizing when you look at it at the country level or national level. But in the state like of Oregon, you're going to see that number decrease, definitely. So no worries. We took an investment from Canopy, which is in Canada, and that was a plant. Canada is a very interesting market. It's very small compared to the States, and the States is so open that like there's so much fish to fry in the States that we kind of want to. We don't have so much room on the grill, I guess you would say. So we're focused on the States right now. Canada is definitely in the roadmap, but in the future.
Any regrets not making it to class?
No, I was skipping class to smoke weed, and it panned out.
Market research. Thank you, Ross. Hey, so I have this. Great job.
That was my other joke.
I have this Central Oregon Pubtalk mug for you, and you can bring it back to any Pubtalk, and McMenamins will fill it up for you.
Awesome.
And if you want me to deliver it, I'll have to start a business to do that.
It should have been a bomb.
Yeah, it should have been a bong. Can you convert it into a bong?
Thank you, guys. Thank you. I
Okay.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks, Ross.